Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking a truly harrowing reality faced by countless rural communities. Today, we're looking at the intense, incredibly sudden, and frankly terrifying phenomenon of rural river floods, drawing directly from firsthand accounts of these chaotic events. It's an immersive look into an immediate, literal midnight battle for survival against nature, using the details from our source text to visualize exactly what happens when the waters rise.
I want you to imagine, just for a second, waking up in absolute pitch blackness. You literally can't see your hand in front of your face. But you hear something terrifying. It's the deafening, relentless roar of rushing water. That is exactly what this quote, dark night and chaos, encapsulates. It's not just a bad rainstorm, it's total disorientation. The power is out, the night is dark, and the water is coming right for you. So, let's start with part one of this event, the river's sudden wrath. For generations, major rivers like the Kosi or the Ganga have acted as the ultimate lifeblood of these rural communities, providing the absolute basics for agriculture and daily life. But sudden heavy rain completely flips that reality. The river takes on this wrathful form. It transforms from a gentle lifeline into a massive, unstoppable force of destruction, and it does this in just a matter of hours. Now, what's really terrifying about this escalation is the precise moment it peaks. The true nightmare actually begins when that wrathful water suddenly breaches the inside of the home. I mean, imagine sitting in your living room or asleep in your own bed, and suddenly the floodwaters are literally pouring through your doors. Your safe haven, the very walls that are supposed to protect you, are instantly compromised. It's a total game changer.
And that inevitably triggers Part 2, the midnight flight for survival.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the escalation here is just staggering. At midnight, the heavy rains peak. Just 1 hour later, by 1 a.m., those floodwaters are rushing inside the homes. And by 2 a.m., villagers are actively fleeing out into a completely dark night. Think about that extremely condensed window of time. In literally 2 hours, a family goes from sleeping soundly to running for their lives, wading through rising, rushing waters. So the absolutely crucial point here is how people actually manage this escape. In the dark, you have to make agonizing, split-second choices. Obviously, step one is securing your family members, right? But right alongside human lives and grabbing a few essential goods, step 3 is rescuing the cattle. You have to remember, livestock isn't just an animal, it's their entire livelihood, their future. Taking the precious time to untie and guide panicked animals through deep floodwaters in the pitch black is an incredibly dangerous but totally necessary risk. But honestly, where do you actually run when the whole world seems to be going underwater? Well, in this context, higher ground is defined very specifically. They aren't running to natural mountains or anything like that. They're running to man-made elevated structures, things like local dams or just elevated roads. These strips of concrete and earth basically become desperate makeshift islands in an ocean of raging floodwater. Families, their cattle, whatever belongings they could physically carry, they're all huddled together on these narrow, exposed strips, just waiting out the night. Which brings us to the aftermath in part 3, devastation and profound loss. When daylight finally breaks, the immediate adrenaline of surviving the night sort of fades, revealing the staggering scope of the devastation. Villagers face 3 core crises once they escape the currents. First, their traditional mud houses collapse entirely. Second, their agricultural fields become completely submerged. And third, a severe crisis of food and clean drinking water immediately begins. The river literally takes everything away. And this brilliantly illustrates the totality of the disaster. I mean, it's a complete system failure. Shelter is wiped out as the houses dissolve. Their livelihood is wiped out as the crops drown. And basic sustenance? Wiped out, because clean water is contaminated and whatever stored food they had is washed away. The flood simultaneously strips away every fundamental necessity required for human survival in a single night. I actually want to pause for a second and focus deeply on this specific heartbreaking point derived from the text. Mud cannot withstand the river's wrath. These kacha houses are built from the earth itself. They're perfectly suited for normal weather, keeping homes comfortable. But against the sudden, violent surge of a swollen Ganga or Kosi River, they simply dissolve. The very ground they built their lives upon turns back into mud and is just swept away by the current. It's a profound structural vulnerability that leaves families with absolutely nothing but the clothes on their backs.
Which brings us to the most difficult part of this explainer. We're left with a massive, frankly, haunting question. When the waters eventually recede, how does a village rebuild from the mud? Their homes have dissolved, their crops are ruined, and their clean water is totally gone. That midnight flight is absolutely terrifying, but the long-term reality of recovery from ground zero, that is the monumental challenge these communities face. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. It's a stark reminder of the incredible challenges faced in the wake of natural disasters.